How's it going, YouTube? Oxy here, and welcome back. So today, it's my review of Halloween Kills, the most recent Halloween movie, in this long-running franchise, and it's the second of what's going to be a new trilogy, with the final one, Halloween Ends, coming out next year. And of course, 2018's Halloween was the first one, and yeah. So right off the bat, I enjoyed the film. It actually succeeded my expectations. Genuinely, I went in low. I was like the last one, I wasn't that big of a fan, but it was great. Again, for what it is. I mean, it's not perfect. Of course, this isn't an Academy Award-winning movie, right? It's a slasher, a dumb slasher. We're here to see some kills, and we got that. More than enough. I mean, Michael really went to town. So yeah, I'm gonna cover minor spoilers. So hey, spoiler warning. This is your warning. If you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. It's in theaters and on Peacock. So, your choice. But yeah, you've been warned. So, the plot is pretty much, of course, 2018's Halloween was made to be a sequel to Halloween 2. So, 1, 2, skip everything else, and then the reboot in 2018. And this is the follow-up. And then, of course, next year we get the conclusion. So, it starts off, we're at a bar where all the, the older characters like Tommy Doyle, one of the kids, Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, she's back, that she would babysit, the night of the original killings, right, the original movie. It's like a bunch of survivors, right, the older cast. They meet up at this bar every Halloween to reminisce and, pay respect to their loved ones, the ones that have died throughout. And then, of course, it all goes to shit. Michael comes out. He escaped from the mental institution. He's been in there for like 30 years or something. He's older. And yeah, the whole film is just that. Like, they're reminiscing about like, oh, Halloween, that day, a day in infamy, and then all hell breaks loose. He's back. And yeah, I mean, the kills are great in the film, seriously. It's like, look, if you're squeamish, I'll admit, some of that stuff was kind of gnarly. Especially the later in the film when they... So, it's like insane asylum, people escape. One is this like penguin, like Batman's penguin looking guy. And the other one is Micheal Myers. And you know this because they blur out the face, but you can see it's like some older white dude who's like kind of bald, he's got like the that type of hairline going. And then later in the film, Michael does get unmasked, but we don't see it. Like, we see his back, and you're like, oh, it's the same guy. Like, it's the other guy. Which I thought was cool. You barely get a glimpse at his face. Like, there's near the end, like, he puts it back on, and you kind of see, like, his messed up a little bit. But anyways, yeah, like 2 guys escape, and they're on the loose, and for the longest, the penguin looking guy is often mistaken for Michael. Like, there's a scene outside the bar where the killer, right, well, I'll call him Penguin is in the car, but we don't know yet. And at first I was like, yo, is Micheal Myers driving? Because he drives off, crashes, the penguin messes up his face. And then later in the film, there's that interesting scene where it's like kind of a social commentary about like cancel culture now, where throughout the film, like Tommy Doyle, one of the OGs, he's like rallying the town, which I appreciated, of like, we're gonna get him, we're gonna kill, evil dies tonight, like Michael, they're gonna, the whole town's like out to get him, which I actually like, because, in slashers, it's typical, like, hey guys, let's split up, and get killed one by one. But yeah, I love that it was like, okay, we're about to, like, mess this dude up. Of course, it doesn't work out like that, but, I appreciate the breaking the cliche. And yeah, there's like the scene at the hospital where Penguin shows up, and then because he was one of the 2 escapees. People were like, it's Micheal Myers, which, look, the issue I had with that is, like, Micheal Myers is tall, right? He's like a 6-foot dude, right? Like, big, intimidating. This dude's like 5 foot, like fat, you know what I mean? He looks like the Penguin. And it's like, that I had a hard time, like, it's like, that's not Micheal Myers. Like, anybody would be like, that he doesn't fit the description. But anyways, they chase the guy around, like, they want to kill him, and essentially he gets cornered, and he jumps out, he kills himself, right? He jumps out a window, and his death that's brutal, probably the worst one. Like, he splats on the ground, and you see it, and it's pretty gross. Like, you see his, like, body, his, like, leg broken. That kill did make me kind of like, ugh, But, yeah, and like I said, it's like a commentary on, like, cancel culture, where people jump to conclusions, and, because throughout that, everyone's yelling, like, it's not him, but, of course, everyone in their blind fury is like, we finally got him, and, of course, there's, like, that moment where everyone realizes, like, it wasn't him, and, all that. But, yeah, it's got some great kills. The only cons that the film has is, like, Lori, our main girl. She's in the film, but she's mainly, like, bedridden, like, in the hospital for the majority. Of course, at the end of 2018's Halloween, she was, like, cut, and, like, she goes to the hospital, and here, she's just mainly in the bed. And, yeah, like, she does attempt to go out, but, of course, they're pretty much saving it, and that's one thing, too. If you were aware that it's a trilogy, it kind of kills the suspense of, like, oh, well, obviously Michael's not dying in this film, because there's going to be another one. But, yeah, she's barely in the film in a meaningful way. It's mainly, like, her daughter, and then her granddaughter, and, like, Tommy Doyle, Lonnie, too, that kid. And that's another one, that guy, complete dumbass. Like, you'll know what I mean, but there's just a scene where, like, later on where you're just like, bruh, like, that guy's a idiot, just straight up idiot. Like, that part really took me out of it, just like, bruh. Like, it was literally like, oh, like, you're dying. Like, it was pretty bad. But yeah, I liked it. I think it's worth it. I mean, as a fan of slashers myself, like, I genuinely think you should check it out. It's, for what it is, it was great. It was better than I thought. Like, Michael really does get, we see him. He's in the film a good amount. Again, he's unmasked for a bit, so you kind of like, ooh. And the biggest spoiler I can say, so, again, this is your final warning. They do kind of introduce, like, the supernatural, where, like, this isn't a man, this is, like, a monster, in the sense that, like, in the end, he gets beat up, and you're like, oh, any person, he gets shot, too, a couple times, any person, like, you're done, but he gets up, and, it's like, oh, like, which I know mostly you're like, oh, what's the big deal, like, Jason did it better, but, if you're familiar with Halloween, you would know that that's never really been a thing for Micheal Myers. Like, yeah, I'm like 6, but God, that's a horrible film. And then, like, Halloween 3, which, is the black sheep of the series, underrated, by the way. Yeah, it has nothing to do with Micheal Myers, and it's in its own timeline, if you will. That film had the supernatural. Oh, that's another thing. The film does reference all those. It even references Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Like, you see the kids with the masks, like, you'll see it. But yeah, if you're a slasher fan or Halloween fan, it definitely has some good fan service. John Carpenter, the legend himself, the director of the original, he's the executive producer and does the score, which, seriously, like, obviously we hear the Halloween theme a couple times, some remixes, like, different ones, but when we hear that original, just, seriously, I know it was him, like, that's when we gotta use it, and, like, 10 out of 10, great use of it. But yeah, I don't want this video to be too long. Again, I can't show anything because copyright claims. Like my last Spawn video got flagged, so yeah, just me telling you guys my honest opinion. If I had to rate it 1 through 10, I give it a solid 7. Again, as a slasher film, if you're coming here expecting like, I don't know, Citizen Kane, you're here for the wrong reasons. It isn't that kind of movie. It does have its issues though. A lot of the characters are very bland, which is expected, right? This is like a slasher, but like Tommy, for example, the whole film is just evil must die. Like that's all this guy's saying. Like that's like his only line. And yeah, Laurie's barely in it. It pretty much sets up Halloween Ends, which comes out next year, and is the conclusion to this trilogy, Blumhouse trilogy. But yeah, go check it out. It's on Peacock, so if you don't want to go to the theaters, you know, hey, I enjoyed it. I went to the theaters to see it, and yeah. So there you go, guys. I mean, hey, go watch it and let me know what you think. But as always, I've been your host, Oxy. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good jazz. And yeah, guys, take care.